Hi students, today we are going to discuss about the historical aspects of forensic science. So that is a brief history of forensic science. Forensic science dates back as far as to 12 BC, and the earliest account of use of fingerprints for establishing the identity as far back as 7th century. And during the Roman Empire, uh, when some were charged with some crime, what they were doing means they used to plead in front of a peer group or in front of a group of people that they like their part they have to uh, tell like a story, or the another opposition party will be there, so they have to argue with them. So who won the debate or who won the argument, they will win the case. So this was the earlier scenario, and we already told what is forensic science. Forensic science means forensic means before the forum, or it's a debate. So in Roman Empire, during that Roman Empire, what the people were doing, they were if they committed a crime or if they were charged with a crime, they had to plead publicly before a group of people. And the first written account of combining entomology and medicine, or for acquiring and analyzing the evidence to solve a criminal case, was to be found in 1248 in a Chinese book. And this book was written by Songxi, and the name of that book was Collected Cases of Injustice Rectified. And another book also he wrote, that the collected writings on the washing away of wrongs. So this book was non instance of forensics being used. Like from this book we understood that from 1248 only, they were using some instance of forensics. And in that book, washing away of wrongs, he was mentioning a story, it's a in 13th century, what happened in China, a man was found decapitated in a rice field, and he has been killed by a sickle. So how he found out that, how the Songxi or the death investigator, how he found that he was killed by a sickle. He realized that it was a sickle by uh, testing various blades on animals and comparing the wound. So he compared the wound with other animals, and he used these types of blades in other animals, and he compared the wound. So finally he found out that the wound is caused by a sickle. And on the next day, what he did is that he gathered all the farmers with their sickle and tell them to line up with their sickle. So after some time, he noticed that some flies were gathering to a particular sickle. So the flies were gathering because of the smell of blood. So in light of this one, the murderer confessed his offense. So he told that I only killed the person. So the farmer confessed the crime. So this is an instance written in that book, washing away of wrongs. So from that only we can understood that these some kind of scientific methods, like this is the part of entomology. So the flies will come and gather to the corpse after dead. So after the person is dead. So these kind of some instances were already mentioned in 1248. So then in that book only he was offering the advice on how to distinguish between a drowning case and a strangulation case, and along with other evidence how to examining the corpse on determining if the death was caused by murder, suicide and accident. So all these things were written at that time only. And what we think of today as forensic science may have been born in China, but truly it developed in Europe during 1700s. And German medical expert, Swedish chemist, and Italian surgeons wrote books, developed theorems and practice routines that would eventually mature and grow into a crime scene investigation techniques that we are using today. And like In the 16th century, Europe medical practitioners in army and university settings began to gather information on the cause and manner of death. And one person, French army surgeon Ambroise Paré, along with another his friends, he was systematically studying the effects of violent death on internal organs, and they laid a foundation of modern pathology by studying changes that occurred in the structure of the body as a result of the disease. And in late 18th century, the writings on these topics began to appear. And they included a treatise on forensic medicine and public health by French physician. And later they were using that. And in 1776, Carl William Scheele, a Swedish chemist, he devised a way of detecting arsenic oxide, and like how they are affecting on the in corpse. So this was devised by Carl William Scheele, and this investigation further expanded in 1806 by German chemist Valentine Rose, and he tried to learn to detect the poison in the walls of victim's stomach. From the victim's stomach, how to detect the poison. That study was done by Valentine Rose in 1806. So 1777, Carl William Scheele, what he did, he detected he devised a way for detecting arsenic oxide, and in 1806, a German chemist Valentine Rose, he tried to learn how to detect the poison from the wall of the stomach. And like this was used to find out the cause of death in some murder case also. And another example, we can say that other examples for this, in a year 1784, in Lancaster, England, mm, John Toms was convicted of murder on the basis of the torn edge of wad of newspaper in a piston matching a remaining piece of his pocket. This was one of the first documented use of physical matching. So what happened in 1784 in England? John Toms, he was convicted for a murder, for murdering the person Edward Culshaw. He murdered John Tom murdered Edward Culshaw with a pistol. So when the dead body of Culshaw was examined, a pistol wad. Wad means a crushed paper used to secure the powder, that the gunpowder and balls in the muzzle. So that is wad. So when Kulshaw was examined, this ward they found on his body, and in his head wound, and it is matched perfectly with the torn newspaper found in Tom's pocket. So from that, they convicted John Toms. So this was, we can say that this was one of the first documented use of physical matching. And another example, like we can say that a woman told that her husband died in a fire accident, but the police investigator, while the not police, the investigators at that time, when they were investigating the crime, what they did is that they conducted an experiment. They killed two pigs, and what happened? One they killed, they burned alive, and one they killed and burned. This happened. This is what they did, and they could find that the pig with the pig they burned alive, it contains ashes in its mouth, and the one they killed and burned, there is no ash. So likewise, they examined the person and person's mouth, the deceased person's mouth, and they couldn't find any ash. This means that the person was killed first and then burned. So after that again they questioned the lady, and the lady confessed her offense, and she told that she only killed her husband. So these kind of so many examples from past, we can say, we can see, that that was like emerging of forensic science. They were using some scientific technologies. They were using some physical evidences. They were using the using comparison methods, and they were using physical matching and all kind of things. So this is a brief history of forensic science. In the next class, we'll see some of the important persons who committed, like who was responsible for today's growth in forensic science. So that's it. Thank you.